Welcome to the America 250 PA Start Here, America Did podcast, telling the unique stories that make up the diverse fabric of Pennsylvania.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cassandra Coleman, the Executive Director of America 250 PA. Thank you for tuning in to today's podcast episode. Throughout this podcast series, we'll take you on a journey through Pennsylvania, uncovering its hidden treasures, rich heritage, and the remarkable individuals who shape its history, culture, and identity. So whether you're a Pennsylvania native, an enthusiast, or simply someone curious to learn more about the fascinating stories that make up the fabric of our great Commonwealth, we invite you to join us on this adventure. I would like to introduce Sydney Harris as the host of today's episode. We are so excited to have Sydney, who's a next generation Pennsylvanian who's looking to connect with, learn more about, and explore our great Commonwealth. Let's get started with today's episode.
Thanks, Cassandra. My name is Sydney Harris, and I'm your host of today's episode. We are so excited as today marks the beginning of a new journey for our America 250 PA podcast as we dive into our first 2-episode series with Kat Janisko, better known as Pennsylvania Junkie. Pennsylvania Junkie is a TikTok sensation, boasting over 270,000 loyal followers and an astounding 4.4 million likes. Kat takes you on a virtual tour of Pennsylvania, showcasing its unique areas, peoples, destinations, and cultures. Personally, I've been an avid follower of PA Junkie for over a year now, and her content has consistently inspired me to take advantage of fun and unique experiences our Commonwealth has to offer. As America 250 PA champions all things wonderful and unique about Pennsylvania, inviting Kat onto our show today was a no-brainer. Kat, thank you so much for being on our show today. We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and honored.
I'd like to start with just a little bit of background on yourself. What shaped who you are? Where'd you grow up, and what was that like?
Oh my goodness, Johnstown, Flood City, PA, over in the Western region. I didn't have much growing up. So what I had was my parents and my siblings, and we had a car, and we drove all over the Commonwealth. Not even just in the Western region, but we drove through Central, all the way to Southeastern. We went all over. And I always sound like my parents when they're like, I walked 400 miles to school, you know? But it felt like that. Like we didn't have much. We didn't have all the technology we had today. So we had the landscape of Pennsylvania, and we just had all of what it offers, which is a lot of peace, healing, and joy. And that's really how it all started for me. At a very, very young age, I've always been a nerd about the Commonwealth.
And do you think living in Johnstown and the offerings that Johnstown had played into that at all?
Yes, because Johnstown is very much that small town vibe.
Right.
So everyone everyone knows everyone. What's John doing this weekend? Oh, I ran into the carpenters, whoever it might be. And there are a lot of small businesses in Johnstown. So that's always been inspiring to me as a young girl. So definitely, Johnstown has a different vibe. And when you come from a small town, you also have this, I don't know how to say this, but discipline and determination. And I met someone the other weekend in Northeastern PA. We find out he's from Johnstown too. And there's just a different energy. So now living outside of Philly where everything's hustle and bustle, it actually was more comfortable for me because of where I come from in the Commonwealth. So in a weird way.
So I know we've talked before, and we talked about really how you moved across the state. So you started in Johnstown. You ended up at Penn State. We are,
yes,
of course. And then now you're in Philadelphia.
Oh, my gosh. So going from Johnstown to Central was interesting because at Penn State, it's like this melting pot of people from, people from Pittsburgh, from Philly. And I'm used to the Yinzer life because I'm from Johnstown. So I'm right outside of Pittsburgh, 70 miles from Pittsburgh. But when you go to Penn State, you meet all these people from Philly, as they say. And I genuinely was shocked because, and I know you'll understand this because you're my Western PA girl. In Western PA, we don't say, well, I have to be mindful of this. They don't say to be. Like my mom will say, your room needs read up.
Oh, right.
We don't say like needs to be read up.
Yeah.
You completely omit the to be verb. So it's like, what? So when I went to Penn State and started meeting these Philadelphians, they born and raised Philly people, they're like, I'm done my homework. I'm like, wait, no, it's done with your homework. Why are we not understanding? It was
Take
the
out those
strangest thing.
words.
Yes.
Right.
So it was very, very interesting. And then, moving to the suburbs of Philly was, I don't know, I kind of felt comfortable because now I got acquainted at Penn State.
Yeah, you're just hopping. You met those Delco kids. Yeah,
Delco.
You met all those.
Yes, we love Delco.
Philly, Delco. I mean, even people from New York are traveling down.
For sure. All over the world. Yeah.
As I've brought up earlier, and so excited because of your passion, your enthusiasm, but also you've really made this unique brand for yourself that I just think is so fun, and it really shows the spirit of Pennsylvania with Pennsylvania Junkie. What really started that?
It wasn't supposed to start. I wasn't even supposed to have Pennsylvania Junkie, and I tell people this all the time. Years ago, I started my own cosmetics business. It was called Katsy Lou Beauty after my grandmother's, and I saw that there was this platform called TikTok. This was in 2018, by the way. This was not 2020 TikTok when everybody was sitting at home and locked inside. This was 2018 TikTok, and I was like, what is this? And it just was like amazing creative videos of people with such personalities. And I was like, this is so fun. So I refused to go onto this app because I had Instagram, Facebook. I got, your brain is just overwhelmed with social media. And I'm like, no. But one day I was like, you know what? I like this. This is fun. I might try my own video. So I started posting videos about my cosmetics line initially. And then one day when I was scrolling the app, I saw this video and it was an audio and it was a woman's voice and she was saying, Pennsylvania check. It was just this like random audio. And I look at the comment. I got so excited because I'm like, oh my God, Pennsylvania's on the map on TikTok. I love it. I look at all the comments and these people from all different counties and regions are throwing their hands up in the comments like, represent, like everybody was so excited. And it just reminded me of that Pennsylvania charm and love and passion and the people, like they're what makes it so special. So I just got instantly excited because not only did I grow up in a small town in PA and Western PA, but I also competed in the Miss Pennsylvania program, which is part of the Miss America program for almost 10 years. I got to travel then, too. It wasn't just, my upbringing and college, but it was, I got to do all of these appearances all over the Commonwealth. So when I saw this on social media, I was like, look at us making PA cool. And I'm like, I'm going to post a video about my life because I have so many stories to tell about my mother who, she says some weird things, as does my father, with wash your clothes. What is happening? Yin's guy's ready. So I'm like, I want to share this stuff. Like, this is a part of my heart and soul, and that it just exploded from there.
Right. And I feel like so many people can relate. I mean, growing up in Pittsburgh, for me, my pap calls squirrels skrills.
Oh my gosh.
I've never heard a squirrel be called a skrill. I don't know if that's just him, but I guess it's a thing that goes on. Not only that, there's crick, skrills. We're taking out all the vowels.
I love that you call him pap, too.
Oh,
You're my Western PA girl.
Right.
I love
pap,
this.
Pop,
yes.
all of the short terms.
Pap. Yes, I love it.
We've talked about in the past how creating these TikToks really brought you joy in a time where you were down and a lot of people were down during 2020, COVID, and all of those circumstances. Can you tell me a little bit more about how reporting on Pennsylvania and how making these videos kind of brought you up out of this dark time?
Yeah, I mean, 2020 was so hard for all of us. And I worked for Dell Computers at QVC at that time. And I remember, I'll never forget it, March 6th. 2020, I got an email saying Dell is ending their relationship with QVC. So there goes my job. And the news hadn't broke yet about this crazy pandemic situation. And it was just a couple days later it happened. And I'm like, oh my God, my life is falling apart. Like, who am I and what am I going to do with my life? And my husband and I, who was then my boyfriend, partner, fellow, whatever you want to call him, we had moved to an apartment outside of Philly. We were even closer to the city, like closer to Manayunk. And I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Oh my God, my life is over. Oh my God, I lost my job. And I had Katsy Lou, but that was really just side income for me, my cosmetics business. It was a passion project. So I thought, I don't know. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I started a video marketing. There were a lot of things that happened during that time that I tried to do, like from an entrepreneurial perspective. But when I started posting more videos about Pennsylvania on TikTok and Facebook, whatever, I was just like, this is more fun for me. Like, I feel more connected to this than anything because it's me. Like, it's where I was raised. And there's something to be said for that. And it just felt so heart-centered. And so I posted these videos and they gave me a sense of home. And that is so comforting. And I hear that from people all the time about, reading anything about PA or going to Pennsylvania Junkie online. I feel so at home and I'm not even home. I'm in California. And I felt like I was so removed from the world that I needed that healing. I needed that. Like, I'm going to start crying now. I seriously, I needed that.
Right.
And it definitely, like, I was in such a dark place emotionally and mentally and spiritually and physically, like all of it. And posting about Pennsylvania just brought it back home. And it just and this is why I say, like, you know, you might not like where you came from, and that's okay. But it's important to come back to your roots, to just remember it.
You know, I think a lot of people needed it. Yeah. I even remember I've followed you for over a year, but I remember getting these videos and just being so excited that somebody's talking about Central PA, about Western PA. And I'm not from Eastern PA, but I watched because Pennsylvania is Pennsylvania. Yes. And so for somebody to talk about our wonderful Commonwealth, our wonderful Pennsylvania, they're talking about our home. And, you know, I think that resonated so much with your followers. It absolutely resonated with me. And I still get your videos sent to me. I follow you. I've seen those videos. But somebody's like, hey, like, look, she's talking about, you know, Pittsburgh. And I bleed black and yellow. But...
Same. You know, I'm same.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I love that. I just got chills when you were saying all that. I'm such a nerd about it. Like, I don't think we didn't talk about this, but I used to study music in Nashville. So, okay, when people say, I can't stand it here, I hate Pennsylvania, I felt that way in high school. When you grow up in a small town, you're like, I have to get out of here. Like, I need to get out of here. And Pittsburgh's not going to cut it for me. Like, I need to really get out. So I didn't even go to my high school graduation. Right. I went down to Nashville and I would meet people and they're like, oh, I'm from Pittsburgh. I'm like, oh, and they're like, get away from me. You're weird. Like, please step away, girl. I was like, oh my gosh, but I love you. You're from Pennsylvania.
And I'm sure you feel the same way about Penn State. I travel. I was in Austin City, Texas, and somebody was wearing a Penn State sweatshirt. Yes. What did I do? I go up to them. We are, you know.
Oh my God.
And
did they respond?
Of course you respond. How could you not respond?
Right. I love that.
Well, thank you so much for telling us that story. I mean, like I said, it resonates with so many people, especially during that time when you're sitting on your phone, locked in, scrolling. You get this influx of negative news going on in the world, but you're really showing us non-negative videos, things about our state that we love. And so it's so appreciated. We talk about the wonderful things that you're doing, but I am sure there's some challenges and I would love to hear them. Could you share some of the challenges you faced along the way?
I love that question because I don't get asked that question. It's all, the cat's so joyful and happy all the time. I am happy a lot. Like 97% of my days as Pennsylvania junkie, I'm very happy because it's just my heart and soul, like I said. But the challenge for me is when I go to a state park or I go to nature and I'm like, do I have to record this right now? Like it's a tough battle because it's like, I don't always want to be connected to my devices. I have to get away from them. The hard part is also keeping up with content online, which has become a thing now. I'm such a small town girl and it was just a small town girl. I am, but I
think that was written about Pennsylvania, actually.
I swear it was. So I love Steve Perry, but I just that's been a challenge for me for sure. Is where do I draw the line for myself? So I've had to set boundaries for myself. I'm going here today. Kat, drop the phone. You don't need to be recording this. Like, you don't need to share it. Not everything has to be shared with everyone. You can keep something sacred. And maybe one day I'll go back and share it then. But I have to have that time for myself. And it's like, you know, there's just so many places. Like, anywhere you go, when you have this kind of like, I don't want to say pressure because I just march to the beat of my own drum. I don't care what other people want from me. I do what's best for me. And I think that's important. But when you have that identity online, you feel like, well, I have to serve. Like, I have to show people that this exists.
And
so that's a challenge.
Yeah, and not only that, people are expecting things from you as well. I know you've said that you get comments, you know, and it's great. There's some of them are advice. Do this, do this, do this. But others are, why haven't you? Why don't you? Right.
I actually, one time I asked on Instagram, in an Instagram story, I go, because this is important to me, connecting with the PA junkies. I go, where do you guys want to, like, what's your favorite place in this region, whatever. And somebody said, this is not our job to be telling you where to go. I go, listen. I'm like, listen, Jim, okay, I am just a Pennsylvania girl. This account is not because I'm an expert on all things Pennsylvania. I'm learning with you. That's the beauty of Pennsylvania Junkie. I'm you. Like, we are each other. I'm just here to enjoy it and spread the love. That's all.
And the vast amount of cultures, people, places, things to do in Pennsylvania, you need help. You need people to give you some ideas. I mean, I know nothing about Philadelphia. So what do? I go to people like you, for example, on TikTok. I'm like, did she do Philadelphia? But for somebody to be, telling you, hey, this is a really cool place to go in Philadelphia. It's word of mouth. It's communication. It helps.
You would love Philly, by the way. I think you would. I know, because I'm a Pittsburgh girl, too. I was like, oh, this is like when I first moved out there, I'm like, this is like blasphemous.
Like I said, Pennsylvania's Pennsylvania. It's home.
Yeah, and we always have our little like arguments and competitions.
Right. Do you remember the video that you made that really launched Pennsylvania Junkie?
I want to say the first one which I used that audio. I saw that audio when I was scrolling the feed that somebody else had used. And I was like, oh, this is cool. I'm going to do my own little version. And I think it garnered it probably has over 13,000 views now. But you have to keep in mind, that was when I just started. So that was a huge, huge response to the video. That was probably the first one. And I was just like, okay, I got to keep posting more of these. And, I started posting things after that about PA town name pronunciations. That's always a struggle.
Wilkes-Barre or Wilkes-Barre?
We can't even go there. There's 5 different pronunciations for that town. It's crazy. I started posting those things like Duquesne is not Duquesne. You know what I mean? Whatever. And there are a lot of French-inspired names, whatever. And those really resonated too. But that first one that I posted, I think was I would say that was the launch of it.
Do you remember what that content was?
It was silly. It was stupid. And it's fine. It's just me holding the camera up to my face. And then I turned the camera around on a rainy day in Pennsylvania from my apartment. It's the dumbest video you'll ever watch.
Were you in Pittsburgh?
I was actually in Westchester.
Okay.
In Westchester, PA, which is a cute Hallmark town. I love it. In southeastern PA in Chester County. But that was the first. I don't want to say it was dumb.
Because it got you where you were. So it couldn't be. People rested. I was asking if you were in Pittsburgh because I get a sense of being home when it rains. I'm living in Lancaster now. It doesn't rain there.
Yeah.
But I moved from rainy to sunny.
I know.
And when it rains, I'm like, oh, it reminds me of home. It reminds me of Pittsburgh.
Every time. It always rains in Western PA.
Yeah.
Always. My mother's always saying that. It's raining again. Oh, my goodness. But yeah, you said Lancaster, correct, too.
Yeah.
People get really buzzed about that one.
I know.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
I know. Lancaster.
Yeah. Oh, my mother. Does everybody in your family say Lancaster?
Of course.
Oh, yes. So does mine. Yep.
Yep.
Which is just horrible. That's breaking the law.
To them, right? I do have this question about the future of Pennsylvania Junkie. How do you hope Pennsylvania Junkie and your brand contribute to the broader appreciation of Pennsylvania? And where do you hope to go with Pennsylvania Junkie?
When this question comes up, and I love this question, by the way, the word modern comes up. I'm a young person, and I think that baffles people that and maybe some people don't think I'm young, but I'm 32. And some people are like, wow, she really geeks out. But this is it's been my whole life. And I think bringing a modern twist to Pennsylvania and attracting younger people to the Commonwealth, not that we need necessarily more people in the Commonwealth. If you don't want to come here, that's fine. But I think attracting them to where they already are, that's so important to me because I was somebody at one point when living in Western PA, born and raised, who was just I hated it. I was like, I can't wait to leave this state. It drives me nuts. And I'm very open about this story because at that time I couldn't wait to leave. I was in a little bubble. And so I went to Nashville. I met people from all over the world studying music at Belmont University. And that changed the game for me. But while I was there, and now I switched my career. So I transferred from music to journalism. My parents basically told me, you're not staying in Nashville. We're not paying for a private school. I totally respected that. Obviously, I was grateful for my parents' help as it is to begin with. But when I was in Nashville, I kept thinking about Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
And it's not even a big move. It wasn't, it was for me at the time. I was 18 years old. It was a very big move for me. But I was thinking a lot about PA and the weather, and I missed it, and just the people and the small little cute towns. And it's not that there aren't any of those in Tennessee, but and I love the people I met in Tennessee, but Pennsylvania, there's just, I don't know, there's something so special about it. And the one thing I want to share with people forever is sometimes, in not all cases, some people leave and they're like, that was the best decision I've ever made, never going back. But in a lot of cases, and I hear this constantly, people don't know what they have until it's gone. And I cannot stress that enough. I mean, at least in my personal experience, I'm not like, I also, when people say, why are you trying to get people to like it here? I'm like, I'm not trying to get people to like it here. I just like it. It's not my mission to keep somebody locked in a place or a Commonwealth they don't like, or an area of the world they don't like. I can't be farther against that. But that is the biggest message, is to just, maybe you need to get away to bring yourself back to what you really do love. That's my message for me personally.
Wow, that's so wonderful. I mean, that really resonates with me, and I think it resonates so much with the people of Pennsylvania. And what I think you do really well too is encourage people from other counties to visit places that maybe they would have never even known of.
Yeah.
Watching your videos, I've never heard of before of Jim Thorpe.
Yeah.
Just learning about the wonderful things that are within our state. And I think I brought it up earlier. The cultures that exist are so vast and so different. And your videos really touch on the different cultures of Pennsylvania and the people that really make this place home and so wonderful. You do such an amazing job of highlighting them, of highlighting the places to go, the people to see, the things to do. I think that's why, you're such a success in Pennsylvania and around.
Thank you so much. I love that you feel that way. And I have to give credit where credit is due. We talked about PA Bucket List. We talked about Uncovering PA. I have to plug those guys too, because they really trailblazed this. And I had been reading their stuff for years, I feel like I'm so ignorant to this day. Like, those guys know a lot. Like, they go everywhere. Whereas I'm just over here like, I'll hop in the car and do a spontaneous trip to Jim Thorpe, for example, because the PA junkies are like, go there. And, a lot of the places people are like, I've never been there and I live in this region, which is very cool because I'm like, I literally hopped in my car today and was like, I'm going to go here. Like, it's a lot of times it's not planned. I've started planning things more now because it's become my job and my career. So I have to keep my sanity in check. But yeah, the spontaneity is very much something that happens a lot.
Well, it's also your own journey. It's your journey exploring Pennsylvania and inspiring others. And so, of course, others have been on different journeys and they do the same, but your journey is you and it's your brand and you really embody just the brand. And not only that, but the enthusiasm and the excitement I think that Pennsylvania deserves. So we are so lucky to have you. I do only have one more question for you today.
Sure.
Our goal here at America 250 PA is to celebrate the 250th anniversary of our nation. And we want to do that by showcasing these beautiful, these unique, and these spectacular corners of Pennsylvania. Why do you think our shared goal of exploration of Pennsylvania is so important?
I mean, Pennsylvania, one of the original 13 colonies. Like, if we're going to go, we got to go way back. I mean, it's important because of the history. Like, this is the beginning of the nation we're talking about here. So for me, and I'm still learning all this stuff, like, I got to be honest, in middle school and high school, I didn't appreciate it as much as I do now in my adulthood. And actually seeing it and exploring and traveling, there's so much history. And I think obviously celebrating the birthday of America, Pennsylvania is a huge part of that. I was just in Ephrata, PA, like the other week at the Cloister, an old religious community from the 1700s, which a lot of people call us cults. What was once a cult, which, if you go there, you probably will think that the same thing. But it's fascinating. And it's interesting because I'm getting a little off topic here, but the Mennonites actually still use the book, like this book that they worshipped with in the 1700s as members of the cloister. The Mennonites still very much value to this day. So it's fascinating. There's so much to see. The Amish culture, it's just everything. It's so fascinating.
Right. And how many people get to say that Independence Hall is in their state and they're in Pennsylvania?
I know. And the Liberty Bell and the history behind that.
Right.
There's just so much to see. And, some people might not be interested in that kind of stuff. But outside of that, there's amazing food. Some people might disagree with me, but we have we're a melting pot of different cultures, too. We have Polish, Slovak, we have Italians. I mean, my whole family is a mixed bag. I grew up going to the polka festivals, the ethnic festivals, and it's just it's so fascinating and it's so important to me to celebrate that.
Right. What I really think you're hitting on here is just the roots that make Pennsylvania so wonderful. You have people coming from all over the world, every continent putting their roots down. And that's really our history. And that's really something that we try to honor and celebrate for the 250th birthday anniversary of the United States, but also just to honor Pennsylvania and its involvement in that, because we really are, like you said, this melting pot of uniqueness and of culture.
We totally are. And there are people from all over. Like I have people from Central PA. They're like, we came from China. Like they literally planted their entire lives into Pennsylvania and they moved to Central PA, which is what people would consider, the plain land, Pennsylvania-ish. But in Philly and Pittsburgh, you've got, all these like different eateries. You've got, Asian cuisine, Korean food. It's so good. And you get all of the gifts of their culture too. And it's the way that culture has evolved over time in our Commonwealth is so important. And I just love experiencing it. It makes me all the more grateful to be here. And I think a lot of people think about Pennsylvania and they're like Amish, and it's like...
But even that in itself, the Amish culture is just something that's so unique.
Exactly. So you have all of the diversity in certain areas, and then and some people will disagree with me, but having lived in these areas, I can attest to that personally.
It's almost like you can travel the world just by going from one part of the Commonwealth to the other.
4 different countries.
Right.
I always say that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Kat, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for your openness and for sharing your experiences with us.
Thank you. You did such a great job. It was so fun, and I was honored to be here. Thank you.
And that brings us to the end of our very first episode in Pennsylvania Junkie's November series. What an incredible journey it has been getting to know the story behind the person that is Pennsylvania Junkie. We hope you've enjoyed this episode as much as we have. And if you're as inspired as we are by Pennsylvania Junkie's journey, be sure to stay tuned for our next episode, where Kat will take us on a journey of her favorite places around the Commonwealth. Remember, every story has the power to inspire, and we believe that Kat's journey and the mission of Pennsylvania Junkie can resonate with so many. If you have a story of your own or insights you'd like to share, go to our America 250 PA's podcast tab and share your story with us. As we sign off today, we want to express our gratitude to Kat. It's been a privilege having you, and we look forward to your continued exploration of Pennsylvania's stories and wonders. So until next time, keep your Pennsylvania pride alive. Keep exploring and keep celebrating the uniqueness of our wonderful Commonwealth. We'll catch you in the next episode of the America 250 PA podcast. Stay PA proud.
We hope that you enjoyed today's episode. Here at America 250 PA, we are striving to make 2026 epic as we educate, preserve, innovate, and celebrate everything Pennsylvania has to offer. Do you have an epic idea for a podcast story? Go to america250pa.org to submit your idea. Thanks again for joining us.
This has been the America 250 PA Start Here, America Did podcast, produced by Commonwealth Media Services. Stay tuned for more epic Pennsylvania stories at america250pa.org.